Welcome to the Town of Fairfax Planning Commission, December 19th, 2024. I think we start with a roll call.
Yep. Okay. Newton,
Here.
Swift,
Here.
Kelly,
Here.
Petrone,
Here.
Bela, absent, Pfeffer,
Here.
Chair Jansen.
Here. I'll read the, oh no, first we do the approval of the agenda. Is there anybody who wants to add anything to the agenda? Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as is.
Second.
Newton,
Aye.
Swift,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Petrone,
Aye.
Pfeffer,
Aye.
Chair Jansen.
Aye. The meeting protocol. The chair shall maintain order at the meetings in accordance with Robert Rules of Order, and the Planning Commission has the responsibility to be a model of respectful behavior in order to encourage community participation and citizens' input at the Planning Commission meetings. The Commission and the audience are expected to refrain from using profane language and or ridiculing the character or motive of the Planning Commission members, staff, members of the public, and to maintain the standards of tolerance and civility. All interested persons are invited to participate in public hearings, and in order to give all interested persons an opportunity to be heard and to ensure the presentation of all points of view, members of the audience should: 1. Limit their presentation to 3 minutes. 2. Provide their comments by email as described. 3. State their view and concerns succinctly. And 4. Submit any new documents to the planning staff first, directly or by email, to be entered into the record. With that, we would open it to public comments for items that are not on the agenda. Seeing nobody in the room, is there anybody online that would like to speak?
I do believe there's one person online who would like to speak. Elizabeth?
Yes. Hi. Thank you so much. And thank you for your service to Fairfax, by the way. So I'm a member of Marin Residents for Public Health Cannabis Policies, which is an all-volunteer organization that works with local governments and with health officials to support cannabis policies that protect the health and the safety of our community, especially our youth. So I just wanted to comment that we don't support the proposed action for Marin Alliance, that the proposed location on Sir Francis Drake, because we feel that it breaches the buffer zone that Fairfax has designed to create a reasonable distance between cannabis dispensaries and youth centers. And I'm sure, as you're aware, the location is less than 300 feet from both the tutoring and learning center and the Caterpillar Academy. And the town council at their last meeting chose to waive these requirements. But we feel that maintaining these buffer zones is an important and measured approach to cannabis sales, and because it balances public health concerns with adult cannabis access. So our organization is particularly concerned because we believe that the delivery-only business that Lynette Shaw is operating out of the same location as the medical dispensary is not acting properly and within their licensing regulations at this time. So it's our assessment that the delivery-only business is the part that's not following state laws. So this fact makes us more concerned about the location that is across the street from the big school bus stop and next to the tutoring and the preschool center. So we just want you to take this into consideration. And, you know, we're not against Marin Alliance having a store in Fairfax at all. We support her, but we just want her to be working within the law and would prefer a different location. Thank you so much for letting me speak.
Thank you. Do we have any other people on Zoom?
I see no other hands online.
With that, we close the public comments. There's no consent calendar, so we'll skip that item and go to item number 1, 293 Bolinas Road. Can we get a staff report?
Okay, so this project is for a 102 square foot living room expansion. The site was developed in 1961 when the town code required only minimum setbacks. So the single family residence was built with the minimum required 5-foot setback on both sides. Later, it was remodeled into a duplex without permits. And the town later granted them a conditional use permit to legalize the 2 units, one on the first floor and one on the second floor. So the addition will not result in new living space within the required minimum 5-foot side yard setbacks, but it will result in new living space within the required 20-foot combined yard setback. The project requires a conditional use permit because the lot size and width are less than the minimum required for a site in the RD 5.5-7 zone for a site that has a 35% slope. So the project requires the conditional side yard setback variance. The addition will maintain a substantial distance from the nearest house at 299 Bolinas Road. And since the site is located well away from Bolinas Road itself, it will not create any visual obstructions for pedestrians or vehicles. Staff is able to suggest findings to the Planning Commission for the approval of both the requested conditional use permit and the combined side yard setback variance, and therefore we're recommending that you approve application 2419 based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval contained in Resolution 2024-21. That would conclude my report.
Thank you.
I want to say one thing. What's driving this is that she had some very bad water damage on the corner of the front of the house. And so she thought this was a good time to try to add on, and it's all covered with plastic. So I know well, is there anyone on? Yeah, I'm not sure why she's not here, but she and her contractor seem to have communication difficulties between the two of them. So if you can act on this, I would encourage you to, because it's a really small addition and she needs to get it done.
Understood. Thank you for that. Do we have questions for staff? Commissioner Swift.
Just a comment on the CEQA status on this, that 15305 paren A isn't applicable. So just 15301 paren E paren 1. Okay.
Commissioner Petroni.
Yeah, I was just going to clarify. So the addition goes into the setback, but no further than the existing house already does. Is that correct?
Actually stairs, there's actually a stairs and a deck upstairs that go like to within a foot of the property line. So it doesn't go any further than the existing house, and it maintains the 5-foot minimum
Got it.
on both sides.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I have 2. In the table on page 3, the number of bedrooms and baths are listed from all the neighboring properties, but this property is missing. Not that that is a concern, but it seems like a typo.
Yeah, I'll fill that. You want me to look it up now? It's in the plans.
It's not relevant because
Yeah.
the other homes are
Thank you, though.
significantly bigger. It just doesn't want to be blank.
Yeah, I think it was 2 bedrooms.
Then the second one, that is the table on page 5. The front setback is there listed as 0 feet.
That's
I'm not understanding that.
okay. So this, if you read the history of this property, is very strange. They have a carport that actually goes over their front property line onto the neighboring property that fronts on Bolinas Road. That has a 0 setback.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I thought something like that.
It's
appreciate
really a weird little setup in there.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Is the applicant here? I see there's one person in public, but that's not the applicant.
That's item 2.
Yeah. Oh, is the applicant online?
Not that I see, Chair.
Okay. Then we will bring it back to the commission for deliberation. Anybody wants to start?
Chair Jansen, did you open it for public comment or just for the applicant?
Oh, I skipped. So yeah, the applicant wasn't there, but you're correct. If there is anybody in the public who would like to speak to this project, do we have anybody online?
I see no raised hands online.
Okay, then we'll bring it back to the commission. Thank you, Commissioner Newton. Seeing nobody, do we want to make a motion? No motion either. Okay, that's interesting. Then I will make a motion. Let me get to the.
I can go ahead. I've got it
Okay.
up.
All right.
I'd move to approve resolution number 2024-21, a resolution of the Fairfax Planning Commission approving application number 24-18, a conditional use permit and a combined side yard setback variance for a 102 square foot living room addition to the first floor living unit at 293 Bolinas Road.
I'll second.
Okay, Newton,
Aye.
Swift,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Petrone,
Aye.
Pfeffer,
Aye.
Chair Jansen.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Motion passes, correct. So we'll move on to agenda item number 2. Could we get the staff report?
Chair Jensen, could you, I'm sorry, I keep interrupting. Could you tell the public
Oh,
what
the
the appeal
appeal.
period is?
Appeal period, absolutely. There's a 10-day appeal period, which need to be submitted to the town staff.
Okay. All right, this is 75 Pine Drive, and the project proposal is to build a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, single-family residence on this site that was previously developed with a much larger 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. The project also proposes construction of a 3-car parking deck, bringing the site into conformance with the required number of parking spaces for a new single-family residence. This project has a long history. The larger house was really in a bad condition when this owner took possession of it, and they ended up tearing the house down because it was in such bad shape. They'd gotten approval once from you guys for a larger house, but the permits lapsed, so they're back for a smaller house now. Pretty much the same location, same parking deck. The project requires the approval of a Hill Area Residential Development Permit for the construction of a house on a landslide hazard zone site, an excavation permit to excavate over 100 cubic yards of material to construct the house and parking foundations, install the drainage system, and build the house, and a parking variance to have one of the parking spaces be a compact stall, a driveway width variance because in order to accommodate 3 parking stalls, the driveway exceeds the 20-foot limit, 20-foot width limit. And they need a design review permit and a combined side yard setback variance. The house has been carefully designed to create a structure that shares its impacts equally between the 2 homes to the east and the west, with the minimum 5-foot side yard setback areas minimized on both the east and the west sides. The project results in a house that has a floor area ratio less than the maximum allowable 0.4 FAR. It maintains a lot coverage less than the permitted 35% lot coverage. And it has only a small portion of the rear of the house reaching 34 feet in height, which is 1 foot less than the maximum permitted 35 feet on a downsloping lot. The town engineers have reviewed the geotechnical report, the architectural and civil engineering plans, including the grading and drainage system plans, and has indicated that the site can be developed as proposed without negatively impacting neighboring properties or the adjacent town right-of-way. The development will in fact help shore up the adjacent developed portion of Pine Drive with the construction of the parking deck and the driveway approach. The town engineer did have numerous conditions for the project, which is pretty standard for these sloped landslide hazard zones. The town engineer likes to review the plans prior to issuance of the building permit and make sure everything's in place that was shown at the planning commission stage. The project's located within 1/4 mile of a known northern spotted owl nesting site, so staff's included the following condition in the project resolution. Construction shall be prohibited during the northern spotted owl nesting season from February 1st through July 31st, unless a plan for allowing construction activities during this period is submitted by a qualified biologist and approved by the State Department of Fish and Wildlife, with documentation of the approval provided to the town prior to the initiation of any construction activities. All requirements listed in the plan, including potential on-site monitoring, must be met by the applicants at all times. That language has been included in the resolution. The building official also noted that the Uniform Building Code will require one exterior light adjacent to the front entry door and to the balcony off the second floor kitchen. And we were unable to verify that the lighting fixtures shown on page E1 of the plan set are dark sky compliant. Therefore, we've included our standard condition in the resolution of approval that the lighting plan shall be submitted with the building permit for approval by the planning department prior to issuance of the project building permit. The lighting shall be dark sky compliant with color temperature to minimize blue rich lighting, not emit direct off-site illumination, and be the minimum necessary for safety. The project already has an approved tree removal permit, and 2 of the trees shown on that permit have already been removed, but 2 are still there. And the applicants have indicated they might want to retain those trees. So we added a condition in the resolution stating that they have to submit a revised vegetation management plan to the fire department in order to retain those 2 trees. And I think they understand that. So basically, they have approval already from you guys. They may be changing it, but it won't be coming back to you because the trees that are coming out are not really for the construction of the house. They're within the vegetation management zones. It's not like they're by a foundation or anything that they have to come out. So based on our ability to recommend findings for all the requested discretionary permits, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission approve application 2419 by adopting resolution 2024-22, setting forth the findings and the conditions for the project approval. That would conclude our report.
Thank you. Questions for staff? Commissioner Swift?
So and this may be a moot point, but the vegetation management plan from 21 showed a JDU. So I just wanted, but we're going to do a new one, right? They're going to have to submit a new one. I just wanted to verify that the
Yes,
JDU is no
I didn't
longer.
make them do a new vegetation management
fine.
plan because the house was made smaller, but the areas that
Right.
it was pretty much identical. If they had tried to get bigger, I would have required a new one, but the
right.
existing one already still worked. So
Right, just verifying that
Yes.
the original had a JDU on the, identified on,
right,
yeah, okay. And then comparing, and I didn't have, ability to look at the plans from last time, but looking at the staff reports, comparing the 2 staff reports, we now say the structure is 23 feet from Pine Drive, whereas previously the staff report said it was going to be 28 feet. So is that just based on the redesign? Okay.
mhm.
And my last question on that is Ross Valley Fire is requiring a 20-foot roadway right there. So 2 questions. One, did they require that last time?
Yes, they did.
They did.
And
Okay.
my understanding is you can double check with the applicant, but I thought they'd already designed that into the project.
No, I was just
Yeah.
trying to figure out where that 20 feet was going to, and the applicant can answer that, where that 20 feet was going to come from. Was it going to come on the project site of the road or across the road? But I can ask.
Yeah, and fire doesn't care as long as it's
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
All right. That's it.
Any other questions? Commissioner Petroni?
I noticed that there weren't any comments from neighbors, but I was just curious, did we receive any comments back in 2022 during that approval process?
only comments saying, please let them build something because no, that the house was still up and the person had added a 3rd floor illegally and it was falling apart and it was literally a mess. So they just wanted it gone, they.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no others, I think just to reiterate one of Commissioner Swift's comments, the 20-foot roadway was something I had noted too. It's a little unclear, and that's on sheet A0, but maybe the applicant can talk to that, and let's start there. With that, does the applicant want to address the commission?
Hi, evening. Hi again to some of you. I'm back after some time. Go. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, okay. My first comment is basically after we tore down the haunted house, much to the pleasure of our neighbors, we just started looking at the site a little more closely and noticed that there was different kind of slopes and very specific topographic conditions that we wanted to kind of avoid putting the foundation in. So we kind of cinched the house up and then it kind of got more compact. And as we started pricing the house, we realized that rationalization of the structure, especially the grade beam foundation and alignment of things made a lot of sense. So we simplified and tried to condense it, but keep our larger ideas about views and seeing through the house and massing and things like that. And so we just took a lot out and simplified, basically, is the short story. And then to answer the question about the widening of the road, that's right. We're extending the 20-foot width of the road to behind the parking spaces. Kind of as we extend the parking, we have a retaining wall sort of along the edge of where our parking meets the road edge, and that 20-foot sort of extends onto that surface behind our defined parking spaces. And I think we have to be 20 feet wide. 40 feet long for the width of the parcel, and then 20 feet wide. And so we tried to capture that with our parking spaces.
Okay. If I understand correctly, the parking stalls themselves do not project in the 20 feet.
That's correct. Yeah. There
But
should be
yeah.
there should be a dimension with a kind of an arch dash line on our site plan or on our sort of roof parking plan.
Yes, no, the site plan does indicate that. But then in front of the two regular parking stalls, there is structure that projects further forward.
That's correct.
And does that encroach into the 20 feet?
It's part of the 20 feet, but the 20 feet is sort of right along the sort of main retaining wall at the edge where the parking meets the edge of the road.
Okay, so the new trench drain is inside the 20 feet.
That's correct.
Okay, so that would be a concern, but we'll get to that maybe later. Anybody questions for the applicant? Seeing none. Thank you. Are there any public comments for the project? Do we have anybody online?
No hands online.
Okay, we'll close public comments. We'll bring it back to the commission. Anybody wants to start? I will start. So that was the only thing that space-wise, and maybe this is for staff, space-wise, there's not a problem. You can totally read it on the drawing because the 40 feet zone is given, but then there is I'm looking at sheet A0. There is the roadway, Pine Drive, is sort of suggested with a gray area, but that does not utilize the entire space between the two, or between the right-of-way. And then the parking deck partially projects into that 20 feet gray zone, which is not necessarily wrong. However, if you look at the detail on the section on the sheet, I think that's 3.1. No, it's further. It is 3.4. So typically, right, when you enter the deck and you drive over the trench drain, that's basically a curb cut. The curb cut is what's the curb, which is the edge of the road. And that means that the road there, well, unless the grade area is not correct, which is also possible. So it's not that there's not enough space, but anybody who would drive around the corner would not drive up the curb cut of somebody's private driveway. That it's a detail concern, but
Let me just explain.
Yeah,
So
please.
the fire department has already approved this, and they often, with newer development, will allow you to use part of your driveway. You just have to build it to support the weight of a fire truck. So as long as you have the space, they're gonna go ahead and okay it, and they've already okayed this. So they're fine with it. And they do it a lot. So,
No, I understand. I mean, just as I said, I cannot definitely say how it's going to pencil out. But that was a concern I have, but let it rest for a second. See if other commissioners have any comments.
I have a question. The upper portion of the landing of the stair that goes down, is that a wall there, or what is it, that landing? Because I think that would be the
Which
thing that
page
would
are-
be an impediment to a passing car.
which
Um,
page are you?
So at
Are you looking at the site?
yeah, at O, sorry, I'm gonna try to scroll to it. I think it's A0.
Yeah,
there's a-
so are you thinking that someone might think the driveway is part of the road and then hit the landing?
I'm just saying that appears to be a pinch point of that 20-foot minimum. Right, you can see the
Well, so
sweep
the-
of the
so-
dashed line.
So the fire department doesn't require the entire frontage to be
Understood.
20 feet
Yeah.
wide. They just require a section along the property frontage where they can stage the fire truck to be 20 by 40. And they've already approved this design. So, they get a second shot at it at the building permit stage. And I think if they think there's some kind of concern, they can, maybe modify it somehow, but it's not something that I mean, if you think there's something wrong with the design and you want them to look at it again, you can continue it and we can get something in writing from them saying they've already approved it, but I've already talked to them and they think this is fine. So, and
I
I don't
was
know
literally
what you
just
do.
asking a question of reading the drawings. I just wanted to
Okay.
make sure I was understanding the drawings there. Is that a little wall there that's sort of at the north edge?
Oh, you're saying at the top of the landing, there's that rectangle? I think he's showing a wall below the landing, right? Because it slopes down. Turk, is that what you're? Yeah, it makes it look like it could be above ground, but I think it's going to be below grade on the site plan.
Actually, it's going to be bench height from the landing. and
Bench
that's
height?
Where address, light lit address number 75 will be.
If the commission had an issue with it, could you relocate it somewhere else?
Well, there's the edge of the road and then sort of a gap and then that wall.
And the gap slopes, right?
And
And-
The gap slopes. So the road's up here, it slopes, and then there's going to be the bench.
I was not asking for that, by
Okay.
the way. I
Oh.
just wanted a clarification of what that little rectangle was.
Oh, okay.
But there's also a set of stairs to the building, to the home next to it,
Right.
that's already there.
And that's a shared easement,
Right.
shared access
Right.
easement.
So this would be another set down to the house. Yeah.
Did that originally, was that the original stairway to the access point to the house? The original house was accessed from the parking deck?
Yeah, the site planning is basically as is as far as the entrances and the parking and
You mean,
Let me
the
ask another-
stairway that you're showing to the house was where so this house had two stairways to it? The shared one and then one that came
no,
down?
the
I don't remember
the
what.
shared one, you don't really, I mean, the shared one has this landing at the bottom and probably saw our neighbors have the stairs all the way down the side for access and things like that. And the house that was there had that as well, but we're not planning to do that. That's just going to end right there. It was never part of an idea for entrance to the house or anything like that. It's just access to the site from the outside, service center. There's a whole series of steps like that along the 75 Pine.
Let me ask a clarifying question. So
Yeah,
the
stairway to entry to this house.
The 20 foot is a requirement from the fire department, but the way the drawing seems to read is that Pine Drive is 20 foot wide all along. Maybe that's not correct. So that's not correct. Then the the boundary of what's indicated as being Pine Drive towards the south. The line that's shown on the site plan, is that the existing edge of the pavement? Is that what it reflects? Because the concern is this, I think, the underlying concern is this. If you take the 20-foot wide and you make a sweep, the roadway actually does go over the parking deck, and it would hit the bench and you would hit the shared stair. But that's how the drawing reads. So the question is, what's really the road there?
Did anyone go out to the site and look at it in the field?
I did not.
Okay, because all the parking, I'm not sure I'm understanding the question. A lot of the parking on these downslope sites, they literally meet up with the roadway pavement, right? And so there was already parking for the previous house where most of this parking is proposed, and the road ran right past the parking deck. You see what I'm saying? And the road isn't. Can you help here? I thought you already talked to fire, and I talked to fire, and they were.
Excuse me.
Not really
Let me
changing.
clarify
Okay.
where the concern comes from. Again, sheet A0. At
Yeah.
sheet A0, there is a dimension shown, 20-foot wide, which is the 20-foot on the southern side of the 40-feet right of way. That dimension meets up with a dashed arch that is shown on the drawing. That dashed arch runs over what I presume is the pavement, and then enters over the parking deck, kissing the tippy end of the parking stall, and then basically wipes out the bench so that's the concern. If that is drawn as intended to be roadway, then you have a conflict. If it is something else, then maybe not.
Okay.
And I don't know the answer to that, but
Yeah,
that's
so
the concern.
I got what you're asking now. And I wish I'd brought the fire department's requirements, but these spaces that they want, they taper at the ends, right? It's like total 40-foot width, but it tapers in. You know what I'm talking about, Dirk? So it's like all they want is space for their truck. And they're not gonna try to park over that entryway. It tapers on either side, the 40 feet.
Okay, let me clarify one more time. This is not about the fire department. This is about, it's a
Any
20-foot wide
members of the
road
public?
or not that continues. And the drawing seems to suggest that the 20-foot width sweeps all along the curve. And I don't think that's what the design does. The design makes the road narrower towards the end. And I'm not saying that's wrong or right. I just want to understand that it's not a conflict.
So the road is the road, and the parking deck, the two spaces, the big spaces, that was all like that, and they're not changing it. They're just replacing the only new parking space is going to be the compact stall. So they're just basically replacing what had existed there like that with the older house for many, many years. So that was already part of the previous house's parking deck,
Okay.
and the road narrowed there.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, so that is an existing
Yeah, it's an
situation. So it's just the dashed arc that
Yes.
shouldn't be on the drawing.
And they're not going to be able to put their garbage cans there or anything. They're going to have to keep that corner free because that's part of the 20-foot width that the fire department wants them to maintain for fire truck staging.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
understood. And so again, the problem is the dashed arc shown on the drawing.
I think they were trying to show the 20 feet. And the 20 feet, I understand why it's confusing because it does go into the road, right? But they're taking it from the other side of the paved road and going 20 feet. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah,
But so at, say, where you enter the new stair, you would have
that's
17
right.
feet.
It intersects with it. Yeah. If that was part of the developed road, but it's not.
It's not, correct.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry for the
No, that's okay.
long-winded, but now I understand. Thank you.
It's confusing.
Do we have any other concerns? Does anybody want to make a motion? Do we need more time?
I found it. I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion that to approve resolution number 2024-22, a resolution of the Fairfax Planning Commission approving application number 24-19 for a Hill Area Residential Development Permit, Design Review Permit, Excavation Permit, Encroachment Permit, and Parking Variance, Driveway Width Variance, and Combined Side Yard Setback Variance for the construction of a single-family residence and 3-car parking deck at 75 Pine Drive.
Second.
Okay, Newton,
Aye.
Swift,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Petrone,
Aye.
Pfeffer,
Aye.
Chair Jansen.
Aye.
Motion
Motion.
passes.
Motion passes, correct. With that, we go to,
Is right.
sure,
Fail.
absolutely, 10-day period to make complaints or to, I keep forgetting that. Maybe I should say it at the beginning of the agenda that complies to every. True. Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, thank you. With that, we move to item number 3 on the agenda. Meeting minutes of November 21st. Any comments?
Yes.
Commissioner Newton?
So I have a overarching comment. One of the public speakers during the meeting that these minutes relate to, I don't know if their gender was properly captured. So I want to ask planning staff to, well, maybe this is better raised in a request by the commission, but I wanted to raise to planning staff the question of referencing public commenters by he or she when,
When we don't know.
or when,
Where are, what, do you know what page you're on? Or
hold on.
I think it's page 4.
Yes. Thank you. And so I don't really know the solution for this question, but I just wanted to pose it to staff and the planning director to consider it and maybe report back to us at the next meeting. Over.
No, I'm sorry. So the issue is putting Ms. and Misters in front of people's names or something? I'm sorry, I wasn't on the page because I didn't have my.
So there's a commenter who doesn't have a last name, is not identified as Ms. or Mr., just their first name. And I think
Crystal?
that's
Jasper.
I
Oh,
think that's how
Jasper.
they identified themselves when they
I see.
first
Okay.
introduced themselves. So
Yeah.
it says she, and my understanding. So I don't know about whether I want to make this a personal thing about one commenter, but more of a general question in general when we're referring to the public commenters, if we need to identify genders in general. Over.
So I guess the way she could have handled it was just say the commenter hopes the plans will be in line with the neighborhood. We are getting a new minutes clerk, so we can talk to the new person about that. Please.
But let me ask a question on that though. So if it's the reference to the commenter at the bottom where it was Jasper and then she, I think as much as possible, we would want to capture commenters' names versus just, this comment was made and this comment was made. It could be that when the person doing the minutes watched the meeting, they could identify who the speaker was, but just didn't capture the last name.
Okay, so my point is not that,
Yeah.
Commissioner Swift. My point is we have a protocol for preparing minutes. The protocol includes identifying the commenters by gender, Ms., Mr., she, he. None of our commenters typically identify you know, I'm Mimi Newton. I live on Mono Avenue and I go by she, her. But, and yet we include that information when we record the comments, and we may be making assumptions whether they're on a Zoom call and they're not visible, or even if they're in person and they're visible. So my point is not about asking our minute taker to make judgment calls or analyze the gender of our commenters and try and figure that out. My point is to ask the planning staff and the director to report back to us at our next planning commission with a solution to this problem that
Okay,
I
well,
have raised.
and I just want to say that people are not required to give their name or their address when they speak at the podium. That's a fact. They don't legally have to. So I think it might, and we were trying to go to simpler minutes, and we don't actually have to even identify specific people that said things. You can accept minutes where they just say the public had the following comments, and you just list the comments. That would solve this problem completely. If
Yeah,
you
I
didn't,
think
if you didn't
Commissioner
want
Newton,
separate people's names indicating what they said, you know what I'm saying?
I believe what Commissioner Newton is suggesting that you avoid identifying gender altogether.
I understand
That's
that,
that
but I
simple.
think the way to do that and make it simple for the people that are doing the minutes is to just give them a protocol where you don't even have to give their name or address. You know, you can just
Yeah, I
say,
think
And what I'm
we
asking,
can
what I'm
put this on
asking-
the agenda for
Yeah,
next
put it on the
meeting
agenda.
because there's a
Exactly.
whole range of minutes you can do. You can do summary minutes where you have no
And-
detail. You can have some, you know.
and I will get the
So-
minutes from the meeting where you already discussed this and we're going to go to much briefer
Right.
minutes. And somehow it didn't happen. So, okay.
Commissioner Pfeffer.
Yeah, I just want to chime in on what I understood Commissioner Newton to be asking for. I think it's just a much simpler fixer step. I would be shocked if there wasn't a publication or publisher that has a style guide that doesn't use gender identifiers for people's names and just saying we want the minutes written with the style guide.
Thank you. Okay. Other comments on the meeting minutes? Seeing none, can we get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move to approve the November 21, 2024 meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Newton,
Aye.
Swift,
Abstain.
Kelly,
Aye.
Petrone,
Aye.
Pfeffer,
Aye.
Chair Jensen.
Aye. With that, we'll move on. Do we have planning's director's reports tonight?
I got a few things I could mention. Well, the first is you maybe stole my thunder a little bit because we do
did?
have a new minutes clerk
Oh, sorry.
coming on board. Our current minutes clerk is retiring. And so this is her last set of minutes. So anyway, so it's probably good timing to put this on the agenda and decide how you want the minutes to be done or redecide, I guess, and how the minutes need to be done.
We'll remind you what the. privilege you
So that when
previously-
so then when you give the assignment to the new
again.
minutes clerk, which is the same minutes clerk that's doing the town council minutes, that we can give clear instructions and have a format. So anyway, and then the other thing is Cindy Swift Commissioner Swift discovered that the League of Cities Planning Commissioner training is actually up here this year. Usually it's down kind of in Southern California, and it kind of floats around the state, and it's just up in Santa Rosa at the Hyatt Regency Sonoma, March 5th to March 7th. So when that date gets closer, I'll send out an email and see who wants to go, and you can go for a day or all 3 days, and so we can figure out how many of us want to go, and then see then ask the town manager pretty please for some funding, so we can do that.
Give us money in our budget like. we
Thank you.
There is some money in the
Oh,
budget.
okay.
There is some money in the budget already, so
Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
Moving on, do we have any comments from commissioners? Commissioner Swift.
If folks aren't familiar.
Mike, please.
Sorry. Along those lines, if folks aren't familiar with the Planners Academy, because we have some new commissioners. The League of California Cities does advocacy for cities, plus they do training. So they have like a new council member training, new town manager. They do the Planning Academy. So it's for new commissioners, but and planning staff are there, but you see folks from across the state. So you see other commissioners, other planning staff there. You get a portion of the 2.5-day academy is going over kind of basics like roles and responsibilities, what CEQA is, some of the kind of routine items. But then you also get information on upcoming legislation and other issues. So to me, it's good to go to. And there's a link on the League of California Cities site where you could see, what past classes were and the PowerPoints from that. So it's just, I think, a real good opportunity, plus the fact that it's like up here. And normally in the past, what they've done is, 1 year in Southern California, 1 year in Northern California. The last two, for some reason, were in Southern California. So this is just a good opportunity. There's also a planning and community business or meeting that's held every month. It's like an hour and a half Zoom. So if people want to get on the email list to listen in and watch that, there's good information there. You'll get information on legislation. The last meeting had an interesting, it's once a month on like the second Wednesdays. The last meeting a week ago had an interesting discussion from jurisdictions on their working relationship with HCD that was worth listening to and giving some perspective from other communities. So that's also a good thing, just to get on the email list. And, if you have the time, plug in. If not, so for that.
Thank you. Yes, I've attended one. It's extremely informative and a lot of fun to meet other commissioners from different towns. You learn from that. Any other comments?
Yeah.
Commissioner Swift? Again.
So one of our projects had, when I looked at Marin maps, the Marin maps showed the parcel totally different than what was on the application. For this project, the parcel on Marin maps actually went across the creek and halfway into a parcel on Creek. So my Marin maps is being used more and more as the database for mapping. I just completed the Firewise renewal for Cascade Canyon, and working with MWPA, we're looking at utilizing Marin maps for the Firewise neighborhoods that haven't used mapping for their site. So I guess I have a little concern, but a question as to how does Marin maps get corrected? We have somebody, I think, on staff that's maybe on the Marin maps board or represents the town. How do we reflect corrections to Marin map? I'm just putting that out there. that there are in some cases, like with this one application we had tonight, kind of a big error when it shows that a parcel's gone across a creek and into another parcel on another roadway. So just a concern that I have, and if we have an individual that's, I believe we do, that's maybe represents us to Marin Maps, it might be our Public Works Director, but don't quote me on that. How can we get that information back, or how do we address that? Just a concern. Do we have a status on Tenalima or an update?
No, there's no status. We're still waiting for an application.
Okay. So, I was looking at that from the prior meetings and thinking when you do a project, you have a project plan and a timeline. So, and I know, we don't have a lot of staff and to do a lot of this, but we had community members come and both to the council and to planning commission, raise concerns about Tenalima. How do we try and get like a project plan or a timeline or address that?
Well,
for things like this?
there's no application, so it's a code enforcement issue there. It's an illegal activity on a parcel, so there's no application for the planning commission to act on.
So it's just basically doing code enforcement as
Mhm.
things occur.
Code enforcement, yeah.
Okay. And then my last two, the safety element.
Mhm.
And I know the last time we talked, you said the safety element was, you were in discussions with our local tribal representatives on that. Do we have a timeline as to when we will see something, or is there something in a draft that we can look at now, or something that could be put on the website that we could review?
We can't put it on the website because it's not a public document yet. It's still in draft form, and we are consulting with the tribe. And so, in fact, I just got the environmental memo from the consultant, which I've been waiting for. And so that's being shipped off to the tribe, and we're going to try to get them to have a consultation meeting with us in January as soon as possible. In some ways, they kind of control the schedule because we have to conclude consultation with them before we can have a public hearing with the planning commission. Doesn't mean we can't come to the meeting and show you documents, but yeah.
So could we do that before that consultation is completed?
Yeah, we could have a study session. We can't have a public hearing, but yeah, we could have a study session.
Okay, I think that would be helpful, both for you all and for us, since, we did this a few years ago at the beginning of this, where we did have a lot of comments and did a review of the safety element, the prior one in the draft that we had that came before us. So I think if we did a study session, that would be helpful, both for us and for you all. So thank you for that. And then my last one is, do we have any update or kind of planning on when we're going to go back to dark sky issues and ordinance?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely on the work plan for 2025. So I think the next step, we were trying to convince somebody to come to talk to you all from the electric company that does our streetlights. That's
Or our public works director.
Or public works director, yes.
All right.
We would like to have somebody from DC Electric come, and they're a little bit hard to corner. So we'll try to corner them as soon as we can.
All right. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yeah, just one. So I noticed this week the town website updated information about the School Street project. I was surprised that we didn't have a line of people here ready to talk about it for the next 6 months. Do we, or can we, I think it would be helpful in anticipation of that, having some kind of short update. We can say, like, this isn't the time to speak about it. We think they're at this point in the application. I know it says here it's going to be submitted by June 2nd, but I'm just anticipating it like in the spring, that coming up.
Everything we have is on the website. Absolutely. There's nothing that's missing that we got from the applicant that is not on the website.
Got it. So no, like, town is anticipating this will be on the agenda
In fact,
this month, so
in
come
fact,
back
the
then.
planning commission has no role at this point. Staff has no role at this point. It's just basically they submitted it. We put it on the website. That's it. So.
Thank you. Seeing no other, I have one heads up. Our next January meeting, I will be out of state, so I will not count for quorum. Of course, next January meeting, our VC, Pfeffer, will rotate into being the chair. And with that, we go to the last item. That means we need a new vice chair. So first of all, who is a candidate and who are we going to elect? Any volunteers?
I'll volunteer.
Any more volunteers? We don't have a competition here? No? Seeing none? Okay. No?
I'll make a motion to nominate Cindy Swift to be the vice chair for 2025.
I'd like to second that.
Call the roll. Okay. Newton,
Aye.
Swift,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Petrone,
Aye.
Pfeffer,
Aye.
Chair Jansen.
Aye. Okay, with that, motion to adjourn.
Oh, and before we do that, I just want to thank Chair Jansen for his conducting our meetings, being respectful of the folks before us and giving everyone an opportunity to speak, and also having the ability to herd the cats that you are on the commission with at times. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Very much appreciate it. With that, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Mission adjourned, or meeting adjourned.